right, how you doing? Welcome to the Spice of Life Variety Show. We certainly bring you greetings in the name of the Lord. I invite you to grab your pen and your paper because you might want to jot down our contact information that will be reflected at the end of the show. Certainly, we bring you greetings from West Angeles Church of God in Christ, where Bishop Charles C. Blake and Mrs. May L. Blake are our pastor and our leadership. We love you. We are honored that you've tuned in, and your tuning in is not in vain. We have a show that each one of us can relate to today, and we just want you to sit back and just really take in and really take to heart what we will be discussing as we discuss today. Yes, I can go on. We're using the word I because it has to be an individual decision, an individual choice. And sharing this particular topic with me today is the wonderful, beautiful Augustine Hughes. How are you doing today?
Just fine and good time.
I'm so glad to have you on the show, and certainly you and I both are women who've lived a long time, and so we've had to make a decision at various junctions. Yes, I can go on.
Yes.
And so thank you. And so we just want to kind of see what we will come up with in our discussion today.
All right.
You are a woman who loves the Lord. It's just something about you. You love Jesus.
Oh, do I love Jesus? They say, can a dog bark? Yes, I do love him with my whole heart, mind, and soul, and spirit.
How long have you
love
been a Christian?
Oh, it's been at least 50 years.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I was quite young when I accepted the Lord. So from a young age up to this point, it's been over 50 years.
The only regret that I have is that I didn't do it sooner than I did, you know.
Yes, you would have missed a lot.
Oh, and that's exactly
out there. You would have missed a lot.
Exactly,
yes.
You got it.
But thank God that you did receive him when you did.
When we did, huh? Now, you are a mother of how many children?
I have 5 wonderful children.
Oh.
1 daughter and 4 sons.
4 sons.
Yes.
What about grandchildren?
I have 6 grandchildren.
6 grandchildren?
Yes.
What's the gender?
I have 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter.
That Hughes name will go on forever.
On and on.
Forever and forever,
yes,
almost.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. How would you describe life? We kind of referenced that a little earlier. How would you describe it?
Go back on my grandchildren. I said
Please.
4 and 5. Okay, and I said 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter, but 6 grandchildren.
Okay.
Make that 5 and 1.
Okay, so 5 grandsons.
Yes.
That's almost like a repeat of what you
It's
had.
almost repeat. But thank God for the repeat.
Exactly. No, that's a blessing. Wow.
It's almost repeating my husband's family. There were only 3 Hughes boys, and each of the 3, as a matter of fact, there were 3, his father, and his father had 2 brothers. Then each of the brothers had 1 son, and each son other than my husband had 1 son. So my husband broke the mold, tradition of the mold,
exactly.
and came up with 4 sons.
Well, which was a good thing.
Yes.
It was a good thing because it's a good seed.
Absolutely.
I have to say that the seed of the Hughes seed, the family seed, has been good seed.
Well, thank
and
you.
so that's been a worthy contribution to our society, to those who know you, know your family, those of us who have worked with your family, those of us who have loved your family. And so thank God. You know, unfortunately, sometimes people might not necessarily celebrate. It's a whole bunch of them.
That's right.
You know, but
That's
in your
right.
particular case with your family, we celebrate the fact that there is several Hughes.
Well, to God be the glory. Thank you, though.
Now, with us being seasoned women, how would you describe life? Because certainly we have experienced that. We've had the experience of experiencing life. How would you describe life?
Life is colorful. It has its grays and its brightness and its ups and downs. And you say the spice of life. Life is colorful It's wonderful. Depends on which road you take in life. We all have choices to make in life. We can make a positive choice or a negative choice. And depending on the choices we make in life can determine our outlook on life. In my case, I feel that life is a blessing. It's wonderful. I have no regrets but thanksgiving life, the breath of life. So life has many avenues in which one could go into and discuss. But life in general, I say it's colorful, exciting, and wonderful, and I thank God for all of that, and more, Yes. And one thing about it is that each one of us may be easier than some, but nevertheless, each one of us have the ability to succeed in life, especially when one's life has been hid in the Lord, and they have taken on and given themselves to the Lord. That is a sure win-win situation. And it is very colorful, as you use, and it is very exciting. And there are blessings, and then there are trying times. And one of the points or aims of this particular show is to encourage ourselves, because as long as we live, we're going to have to come back to reminding ourselves that yes, I can go on, and also just to reach out to our audience who may be experiencing something currently where they're having to make the decision of yes, I can go on. And so we have a roll in that I'm going to of another show that I do want to show, but you now are a widow. How long have you been a widow? Going on 4 years.
4 years, wow. And that name, your husband's name, Elder Charles Hughes, is a name that is still alive and well at West Angeles Church.
Is it ever?
And beyond.
Yes,
because of the honorable man that he was.
Well, I thank God for him. People approach me all the time.
She's not exaggerating either.
I'm serious. All the time, reflecting back to or referring to my husband, telling me the impact that he had in their lives, the positive impact, young and old, in the church and outside of the church. So to that we give God the glory and thanks and praise. Yes, he was a wonderful guy.
Exactly.
He was a wonderful
And how long had you been married? How long had you been married prior to his demise?
Prior to his demise was about 42 years.
About 42 years.
Yes.
About 42 years. Well, then that's real good. We had the privilege of doing another show where we had you and him celebrating your 41st year. And with that being the case, I do want to show just a portion of that particular show. If we could do that, please. 1 years of marriage. The Right Reverend Charles Hughes. Welcome, sir.
So happy to be here.
All right. And that rose that you have on the other side of you is Mrs. Augustine Hughes. You know her?
Very well.
For the last 41 plus years you've known her.
You're right.
That's right. Well, how, and this show is to inspire our audience to know that it can happen, because you are sitting there living proof that people can stay together. In this day and time when 41 seconds is a long time, you know, you're here to dispel that myth that you cannot last that long.
You can make it.
You can make it. How did you two meet?
Well, actually, I had gone to a district choir rehearsal with a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
And Augustine Smith, that was her name prior to becoming the Hughes.
Okay.
She was the piano player there.
All right.
And after the rehearsal, I had told my friend I'd like to meet the young lady on the piano. Now, I was there for choir rehearsal, but you know, you have to look at the pianist every now and then. And she caught my eye. And being the good friend that he was, he introduced us.
Okay.
And that was our initial introduction.
Wow.
Some 44 probably years ago.
Wow, wow. Let me ask you this: how many off keys did you have that night? I mean, you were supposed to be choir rehearsal, but how many? How many off keys did you have that night? The director said sing up, and you were singing low because you too busy looking at the piano player.
I couldn't watch him. I had to watch pianos.
That's great. What was your initial reaction when eventually he approached you and wanted to meet? Did you wonder why, or had he perked an interest in you, or what?
When we were, not really, it was just a formal, oh, nice to meet you, and you go right on. But eventually, because we were very active as young people in the church, teenagers, 16 years old, we began to, of course, come in contact with each other. And finally, when we were seeing each other a little more often, I said, well, you know, I was the type of person I didn't want to misuse or misabuse a person or a relationship, so I approached my brother, what do you think about this young man? So he
got godly advice. I mean, you got advice.
He was an older brother.
Okay, great.
So I said, he says, well, this is a nice guy. If you're not interested, cut it loose now. Okay. So he was such a gentleman, and just a nice person.
Yeah.
Just the person, the person. And so I said, maybe I better check this out a little bit and let him date me. So it went on from there, you know, just as real good friends, and of course that didn't last very long.
Let me inject this. When she says that didn't last very long, she means the friendship didn't last very long.
Not that you're not one of the gentlemen.
Right,
see,
okay.
Let me clear something up. Before I met her, well, after meeting her, then you want to know her.
Okay.
And then after knowing her, you want to go to another level.
Okay.
So, of course, I was a relatively youngster. I was only about 18 years old. Okay. So, but the progression is what I'm trying to say. And we didn't enter into the meeting other than just a meeting. Okay. But then one thing led to a next level. And so, as you were saying.
So I ditto what you said, and that's what I felt about. He was a real nice person.
But and that's a key point. That's a key point. Right. You didn't say he came with riches and all that.
Oh no,
just him as a person, being a nice person.
Right.
That's so important.
And that's how our relationship went for the 3.5 years that we dated before marriage. You just wanted to be with the person, you know, just being.
You know, as I was reflecting back and remembering you saying how he had impacted the lives of others, I can imagine he impacted the lives of you, his wife, and his children, huh?
Yes, he did. He definitely impacted my life. But now my sons, the youngest son is 33, but now they reflect upon their dad. One was over at the house the other day, and he says, Mom, I just thought about Daddy and what he would do and what he would say. At this time, I'm doing a project at the house, and how Dad would step in, and I was just thinking about Dad. And another one would say, oh, I just dream about Dad. Now, these are men, okay?
Right, exactly.
They miss their father, and he had such a positive impact on them from a spiritual level, from a manly level. As a father, they can emulate him. They have nothing to be ashamed of. So I think that missing him is a natural thing,
of course,
for anybody, but to have a parent who can exemplify Christ and yet be human, you know, he was very witty, and they love that too, you know. So yes, he did impact their lives and also my life.
Now, when we talk about yes, I can go on, because one thing about it is that we as people, we experience life, death, difficult times, etc. How has the void or the absence of him in your life, how has that impacted your life, your present life?
A great impact, just like the coming on impacted me. I still miss the person, the Charles Hughes, his wittiness, He used to, he loved to try to frighten me when I would come home from work. He would always hide to try to steal. He never grew up in that, just a person, and a friendly person, one who took care of business. It impacts me because now I have to learn the business of the household, how to run the household, because he handled everything. And that could have that could be negative. Women, I would tell women to learn a little bit more about how to run a household and to pay bills and what insurances you have. Just learn the business of a house. Well, he was the one who took care of me, took care of took care of everything. So it impacted me in more ways than one would imagine, especially the first year. I mean, changing the light bulb, I mean, he did that.
Right.
Gas in the car, I didn't do that.
Right.
So just little things I miss, and it could be a positive thing for me in that I had to come to a point of learning in life. Challenges in life can be an opportunity of growth and development, and that's what it was and is doing for me today.
And that will be my question, because unfortunately we know that people handle challenges or losses or changes in life differently.
Yes.
Even up to the extreme of taking their own lives, or don't think that life can go on, etc., etc., etc. How have you been able to healthily go forward in life, even though you have suffered loss, and even though there's a void there that you miss? How have you been able to be healthy and go on?
Well, what I do, I involve myself in others to see how I can I make myself busy, not just busy to be busy, but to be involved in various functions, events, and into people. After I lost my husband, I noticed that many women, many of my friends within that year lost their husbands. Some tragically, some just naturally. So I began to, I thought about in ministering to them, to have a support group. So what I did, I began to call them to try to let them know that I understand and I'm there for them in whatever way that is necessary or deems me to be there, just there to support them, and established a little groups where we could go out for breakfast or lunch or whatever the case was, so women could vent and express themselves. Some were angry, some just, people experience grief differently and different lengths of time. So some experienced grief in a year, some were still grieving over 15 years. So that, my experience with grief afforded me the opportunity to tap into some other widows and to try to express my sympathy and empathy to them. So it was an opportunity of growth for me, and it still is as I go along.
And that, that's so key. We get lost into our own experiences and don't want to reach out, but there is help and healing when we reach out and give to others.
That's right.
Even when we ourselves are in need of them reaching out to us, it's a healing that goes on as we.
That's a few months after my husband passed, another lady at the church, her husband passed. Again, I would call those people, and in calling them, they wouldn't expect a call from one who had just lost a husband, but that was a keynote of encouragement to me. What I began to do, I got my attention off me, and in my prayer time, I just talked to the Lord and said, Lord, I just miss this man. I just miss his presence. Then what dropped in my spirit was this: begin to thank God. So I thanked God for allowing me to be the wife of a godly man. I thanked him for allowing me to be the mother of his children, and I began to thank him for allowing us as a couple to be a light, hopefully, to others on this earth. So the thankfulness began to take control. And as I thanked him, the others sort of dissipated, you know. Not that I don't recall it sometimes.
Of course.
But there's so much we can thank him for, even in our time of grief or in our times of losing a job or in our
a home
or whatever the case is. Thankfulness brings in a joy that you can express. So just as a key, the grace of God, the prayers of the saints kept mine going and talking about a healthy outlook on life. Yes, I can do this. And not just me, but I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. It's not just Augustine. See, people were coming to me and saying, "You're so strong. How are you doing?" But they didn't know that inside. And I said, "Oh, Lord." But they felt I was strong. It wasn't me, and it isn't me, but it's the grace of God and the prayers of the saints that I really feel that carries me along.
And that's powerful. So many times, number one, we do encourage people to own up to how they feel. You know, I mean, you know, I'm mad, I'm upset, etc. But then don't stay there. You know, sometimes people will stay there at that point of anger and be forever bitter and can never go forward in life. But that's not the healthy state. No, grieve as long as you need to, and scream or do whatever you need to do to get through that junction. And then go on, and as you say, let it be progressively healing. Learn how to begin to focus in on being thankful.
That's it.
For the blessings. You know, so often we've heard it said before, and it's so true, that given what that person is going through and what I've gone through, I tell you what, I'll go back and get what I've gone through versus that person, because even though we experience bad things and difficult things, it could be that much more multiplied. You know, and if we look at it on the scale of life, then we understand that, Lord, even in the lack or even in the hurt, there are things that I can give you praise and thanks for. You know, praise is like a tow truck. It pulls you up out of the ditch. And so when we talk about, yes, I can go on, that's what we're seeing, and that's what you're doing.
Absolutely. That life goes on whether or not you do anything about it. My husband used to tell my children, make a plan, you know, do something. As far as college, whether or not, when you graduate from high school, if you take advantage of the next few years, guess what? Time moves on. So if you stop, guess what? Time is still moving on. So what are you going to do with time? Grief sets in. What are you going to do? Stand there? Does time stop? No. Do your grieving? That's natural. But know that time must go. Bills must be paid. Okay, gas needs to be put in the tank. You know, life moves on. Take the horns of life and ask God to help you, to lead you, to guide you, to direct you. When those times come that you want to scream, cry, kick, whatever, do it. Put the pillow over your head and keep on moving. Look to the hills from whence cometh your help. And that's not trying to be too deep, but we as Christians need to realize that we're not like the other fellow out there who has no hope. But in our downtime, know that our uptime is coming. I like to say that people say, I'm going through. I like to get on the other end and say, I'm coming out. And when we do that, we're moving and we're progressing. Time doesn't stop for anyone. So with me, I want to move on. I can, not on my own, but through the help and grace of God. I can, you can, anybody can. The student can. If he doesn't have the money, he can get it. So we can. Can't isn't in our vocabulary. So I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And move on.
So often as the bereavement director, I also offer to people the fact that if you need help, counselors or whatever to help you get beyond that point where you feel as though I cannot go on, then get the help that you need. Certainly if one is in the church, even dive deeper into the word of the Lord, dive deeper into the love of the Lord, because he has set up in his structure of life for us healing,
yes.
that we can go on. Yes, I can go on,
I can.
But it has to be a personal declaration that yes, I want to go on, and I will go on, and I'm going to get what I need in order to go on.
You said it. I will, I can. It starts up here in the mind. As a man thinketh, so is he. During the dry spells is an opportunity to get close to God, to take you through the future. There are dry times. That's the time to read your scripture and to fast or set time aside for him. And then before you know it, you have the strength to move on.
Before you know it,
go on. Before you know it,
before you know it, you start as junction A and you down to M. It's kind of like, whoa.
See?
And as you were saying, life goes on, and if we just get on the current of life and go forward, you know, we can't, there's no way we can remain where we were.
No.
You know, and the person, Elder Charles Hughes will never be out of your heart, and rightfully not.
Right.
But at least he is put aside so you can go forward.
That's it.
Because he would want you to go forward.
Absolutely.
He would not want you to come up into a corner and die and not be the grandmother of his grandchildren,
yes.
you know, or the mother of his children, or even his wife. And so we just want to encourage people that no matter what is going on, we already said it, job, your marriage is on the rocks, illness in your body, whatever the case may be.
Whatever the case is,
whatever.
Just know that you can.
Yes.
And say, yes, I can.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Rather than having it in your vocabulary, I can't. I can't. Well, if you keep saying that, guess what? You can't.
No, you
and
can't.
You won't.
And you won't.
So rather than to think on the negative side, begin to think positively of what I can do through Christ. I have the strength through Christ. If I do A, B, and C, then guess what? D, E, and F shall come to pass.
It shall.
It didn't come to stay. It came to pass.
And you know, one of the things, as we're down to the last moment of the show, one of the things that I have learned, and I know that all of us have learned, is that God's grace is sufficient for whatever we go through.
Absolutely.
And a person who doesn't understand that particular grace will never understand that they can go through.
That's
and
right.
so to you, our audience, we want you to know that we have been discussing, yes, I can go on. And so whatever you are challenged with, whatever you're faced with, do know that with the help of the Lord, yes, you can go forward. God bless you. We love you. And until next time, take care. God bless you. Thank you so much.